Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course, and we are pleased to be joined by USAC Silver Crown Series driver Taylor Ferns. How's it going?
It's going well. Thanks for having me. Great to sit down and chat with you about the race this upcoming weekend.
Of course, that is the Raleigh Veal Classic at Toledo Speedway. By the way, if you have not seen these cars, you need to go because they are amazing. Just the public service. These cars are really good. These cars are really cool. Went for the first time last year, and I've been hooked ever since. Okay, so this weekend at Toledo, I know that you'd like to redeem yourself after what happened there last year. What has it been? Talk about the run last night and how the last few runs actually leading up to this race.
Yeah, so the past few months, I'd say actually ever since our season really started from Carbonite Classic, it's been nonstop, which is great. We've had a lot of short turnarounds between a lot of the races, which has been awesome, but obviously exhausting on our end, trying to switch cars over from my Silver Crown car and my Sprint car, and then sometimes we're racing both at once. But I feel like so far we've had a lot of really strong runs. A couple podiums. We podiumed at Carbonite Classic at IRP in the Silver Crown car, and again at Winchester in my debut there in the Crown car. So that was cool to become the first female to podium in a USAC Silver Crown race. And I surpassed my previous record of being the highest finishing female in USAC history. But I'm not really the person that's here to celebrate podiums. Like, I want to win. And that's what I'm really excited about going to Toledo. I know we had a really fast car there last year. We had qualified fifth and then had to start at the tail due to kind of a mechanical bout where I couldn't take off on my own. So I have high hopes for this weekend, realistic expectations, but I definitely want to get that win for sure.
What's it like to go around in one of these things at Toledo?
It's pretty crazy. Obviously, with the Silver Crown cars and heading to Toledo, which I believe is a half mile, give or take a few, but so it's a shorter track for us. But the corners are pretty wide, which allows for us to kind of have two lanes going to where we could pass inside, outside. But it does, since it is a short track, it obviously takes you a while to kind of set that up, how you're going to pass that person in front of you, assuming obviously there is a car in front of you to pass. But yeah, it's really exciting racing, classic short track racing, obviously short tempers. It's a long race. So it should be a pretty exciting ordeal this weekend.
So talk about these races, and I believe it's 100 laps this week, right?
Yeah. All Silver Crown races, at least for the most part, I think with the exception of Eldora, they're 100 laps.
Yeah. It seems like a long race, but it's really not. 100 laps at Toledo is those laps click off so fast. You may think it's a long race, but it's not. They'll go by really quick, so you have to make moves up there and actually also qualify good as well. What's it going to take to get around a track like Toledo?
Yeah, so last year we obviously had a really strong qualifying run, qualifying fifth, but like I said before, we had to start at the tail and kind of make our ground up. So really just pushing the car to its max within kind of like the short distances that we have. It is kind of maybe a track that's easier to overdrive, but I do feel like the corners are broad enough to where you could kind of scrub that speed a little bit. I take advantage of that sometimes, but just definitely being quick-witted, aware of what's going on obviously around you, and just maximizing every position that you can. Like when someone gives you a hole, like Art and Senna says, if there's a hole there and you don't take it, then you can't classify yourself as a race car driver type of thing. So I kind of live by that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but yeah, just definitely grinding and going to the front.
For sure. So I know that you're also making your way up in the legal in your in law school as well. I know your employer, which is the Sam Bernstein Law Firm, which is very familiar to people here in the Michigan area. But going into that, you're also kind of making your way up into doing some pre-law and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, so I'm actually in the process of transitioning from my operations role into a legal role. just because I just am over halfway through my law degree. So obviously, when I'm done with law school and presuming that I graduate and pass the bar, I'm going to be an attorney. So it's time to make that transition now. So I'm in the process of doing that, which has been fun, challenging, but also an exciting new experience for me, just to kind of learn more about discovery and case evaluation summaries and all kind of like the paperwork and briefs and stuff that go into like more of the behind the scenes stuff um, that attorneys work on a day-to-day basis outside of like meeting and interacting with the client. So that's been exciting, and it's cool to kind of overlap and have the Sam Bernstein law firm and their logo on my race car. But it's also been, I juggle a lot of things. I know we've talked about this before. I actually took a final the day before we raced the Silver Crown car at Winchester.
Yeah.
So as soon as I finished my final at Winchester, raced down, drove down to Portland, Indiana, which is just outside of Winchester where we stayed, and then had a bunch of interviews like in preparation for the following day. And so it's been kind of crazy the past few weeks, but I love it. I would do anything for racing. So, it's what excites me.
This Toledo Speedway excites a lot of people, including me. But coming into this weekend, obviously a win is definitely really all that. I mean, you've gotten podiums, you've gotten the recognition, but now it's time to get it done. What's it going to take to get it done this weekend at Toledo?
Yeah, so having a great qualifying run for sure, so we can start closer up front. That's actually something my crew chief and I talked about this morning. Toledo is one of the few tracks that we're kind of returning to that I've already had laps at from last year. I know some of the tracks that we've been to this year, like Madison, Winchester, Gateway, I have made or will be making my first starts there. So Toledo is one of the ones that I already have laps at, already have some experience at. So assuming we can just lay down a good lap in qualifying, start up front, and just contend for the win the entire race. We've been strong and had a lot of strong runs and ran up front in a lot of the crown races this year, if not all of them. So really it's about being consistent in order to win one of these races. And so I feel like we've shown that so far, and I really just feel like this weekend's our time. So I'm really not going to accept anything less than winning. So we'll see. Cross my fingers. I thought that about last night at IRP, and we struggled all night, so I don't want to jinx myself.
All right. Well, Taylor Ferns, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, and good luck this weekend at Toledo.
No problem. Thank you. Thanks for having me.